Boy, a lot of people did not like this particular chapter. This is chapter 44 for Barack Obama. And for a lot of people, they had envisioned that I would talk about Obama's kind of GQ image and him being the first person who wasn't a white male to ascend to the presidency, to be elected president. Those are interesting and kind of monumental changes in their own right, disruptive in many, many ways. But what was more interesting to me is looking a little bit beneath the surface and understanding some things that just didn't get as much attention during his presidency as the obvious things. And one of the biggest changes was the nature of armed conflict itself. It may seem like an odd sort of thing to talk about from a marketing perspective, but the change in how and why those decisions were made were really all about persuasion and kind of mass communication. In the history of modern warfare, which we don't actually talk a lot about a lot in Marketer in Chief, I think there are enough places where you can go get wartime history. A lot of great military historians out there. But what they often don't talk about is since the days of Julius Caesar, an army needs to be bred, fed, and led. Bred means you need to have enough people. Fed means logistics and not just food. It means getting enough supplies to the soldiers in the field. And led, meaning you need a leadership group to get them out there. That has been the same. Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, Charlemagne, General Patton, you name it, every one of those commanders has need to deal with those same three issues and has really kind of defined the course of warfare for millennia. This particular change, when Barack Obama, really tagging on to a strategy from his predecessor, took advantage of autonomous or semi-autonomous drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, to really disconnect kind of those first two. It's still a logistics challenge. There still are pilots, but when you think about the difference between putting a UAV into a battle theater versus putting a pilot or a group of soldiers into a battle theater, it is a very, very different proposition. And I wanted to explore why, from a kind of mass communication and psychology perspective, why that might be the case, and why did Barack Obama make that choice, and what was really the impact from a communications perspective. So I'm going to read you a portion from the end of the essay that talks about that specifically. Subtitle of this section, because the alternative is worse. After all the discussion about operational theaters, mission parameters, and automation technology, Obama faced the same challenge Hannibal did as he crossed the Alps into Italy to attack Rome. Obama and Bush may have been very different political parties and disagreed materially on nearly every important issue, but both understood the dynamics of warfare. The United States couldn't recruit enough soldiers fast enough to keep up the fight in Iraq, much less the broader war on terror. The cost was bleeding the treasury dry. Support for the conflict at home was evaporating. This technology, as costly and ethically challenging as it is, offered a way out of a centuries-old dilemma. This weapons platform required far fewer soldiers, and it tends to keep them further away from firing range. It's still dangerous, but if the enemy shoots back at a drone, the worst they can do is crash a $4 million plane. They can't kill the pilot, nor anyone else connected to the pilot. Machines are also easier to breed. A soldier takes a minimum of 18 years. A predator can roll off the line in 18 days if needed. Yes, logistics is complex. A drone strike requires significant support from reconnaissance, support, and intelligence systems. But that's nothing compared to supporting a combat troop in an active war zone. It's not even close. The combat leadership doesn't change much, but the psychology on the home front does. The thought of sending a drone into a high-risk situation is more palatable to the average citizen than sending their son or daughter with a rifle. What's more, Americans love their technology. We worship it like an idol. It's easier to depersonalize the situation when technology is involved, and that depersonalization is even easier with autonomous or even semi-autonomous technology. That's the entire crux of it. President Bush and Obama decided, on the advice of their military advisors, that certain people posed a clear and present danger to the United States that could be reasonably mitigated without eliminating, killing, or assassinating the people in question. To counter that threat, they could A, recruit and train your son or daughter, give them a map and a rifle, and order them to find and kill that person face to face, or they could B, send a robot. They decided to send the robots. As different a person and president as Trump was from either Bush or Obama, he continued the basic program. I'm not sure that, faced with the same choices and given all the same intelligence, I wouldn't have made the same decision. I wonder, though, what happens when our enemies can walk into a local Best Buy, buy a smartphone-controlled quadcopter, install a detonator, and create a flying improvised explosive device, or IED? Let's say that next, they hack the drone's largely unprotected firmware to seek home on a different smartphone's geolocation. What if that unlucky smartphone belongs to your mayor, your senator, your CEO, or you? Combat drones represent a fundamental change in warfare because of asymmetry. Only one party in the exchange is in mortal danger. That asymmetry of advantage is at the heart of what makes all disruptive innovation so compelling. But there's one thing that's also true about that asymmetric advantage. It never lasts. Just because the rules of warfare have changed doesn't mean the stakes of warfare have changed. We're still talking about life and death. We should be thinking about this more than we are. This is one of those cases in Marketer in Chief where we get to kind of ask and answer some big questions, mostly about asking them and asking us to think about them a little bit more, because the core reason that these presidents have decided to use this technology is because it's a lot easier than sending troops into a war zone and risking them not come back at all or come back maimed and disfigured. So from a psychology perspective, from a communication perspective, this isn't that hard to understand. It's just we're not thinking it through. We are not thinking about it enough, and we should be thinking about it a lot more. So prepare to be uncomfortable, Chapter 45, Barack Obama in Marketer in Chief, on bookstores, July 4th, 2021. Get a copy.